I've seen mounted forces on 3 continents, but none of them ever looked quite like the Northwest Mounted Police riding out of Fort Battleford that morning. They'd have looked comically out of place at Horse Guards Parade, mind you. Too much dust, too much whooping, too many hats like overturned soup bowls, but by God, what a merry procession they made all the same. A detachment strong, with flags fluttering and boots polished like they meant it. They filed out in perfect order 4 abreast, red serge tunics, breeches, yellow stripes, carbines glinting in the early sun. It was the Empire in another accent, proud and foolish and bold as brass. Each troop was a microcosm of the Anglo experiment. Irishmen, Australians, Scots and frontier boys from Ontario and Quebec, some barely old enough to shave. They joked, sang, smoked roll-ups, and cast nervous glances at the loyal Indigenous scouts riding ahead, dressed in sashes and leggings, the only ones amongst us who seemed to know what the devil we were walking into. We moved in a column of 4s, Crozier at the head with his headquarters troop, followed by the rest in staggered order. I'd been lumped in with the troop under the command of a sharp-nosed inspector named John Corbett riding a chestnut mare named Daisy. He had a stiff upper lip that would have earned him a place at Sandhurst. A decent officer for a colonial, and not prone to long conversations, which suited me fine. Behind us, the wagon train rumbled, hundreds of mules hauling ammunition, food, tents, spare kit, and no doubt a case or 2 of the superintendent's cherished scotch. The regimental band had played us out that morning to a rousing rendition of the Maple Leaf Forever, echoing across the plains. Damn if it didn't stir the blood. The troopers sat high in their saddles, carbines slung, pistols holstered, and boot heels polished. A few wore bits of Indian trinkery, bone chokers, beads, eagle feathers they bought or bartered or pinched from somewhere. Crozier encouraged it, claimed it made them more fearsome in battle. I've seen real warriors, of course, Afghans, Sikhs, Apache, and I can tell you, feathers do bugger all if the man wearing them hasn't got the sense to stay alive. Still, they looked fine. Too fine, perhaps. Like actors in costume, unaware they were riding off stage to a final curtain no one had told them was coming. I remember thinking it even then, as the column wound its way across the grasslands, sunlight turning every rifle barrel to silver, and the prairie winds snapping our flags like whips. I remember seeing a young trooper, no older than 18, grinning like a fool, tossing a coin with the man next to him, and I thought, my God, they have no idea. None of us do. Except maybe the scouts. They didn't sing, they didn't grin, they watched the horizon like it was whispering to them. And when I looked closely at their faces, I felt the first cold prick of what was to come. But still, we rode on. Crozier rode at the front like a man leading the tournament of roses. Red tunic gleaming, curls bouncing, hat cocked, revolver shining. Bloody fool. But I'll say this. I've never seen a commander look more like he believed it was all going to end in song and medals. And me, Lionheart, brushing dust from my moustache and wondering, not for the last time, what the bloody hell I was doing in this overgrown homicidal country. They looked like gods, and by God, most of them would be ghosts before the week was out. We rode for 2 days across country that looked as if God had started making a prairie and then lost interest. Flat, endless, dotted with the odd frozen stream and the wind cutting through red uniform and grey coats like a knife through butter. The column moved briskly, too briskly for my taste. Crozier had us pushing hard, convinced that speed would catch Rial's men flat-footed. I kept my head down, my carbine slung, and my mouth shut, except for when someone offered rye. The first sign of trouble came on the afternoon of the 2nd day, near a place the scouts called the Patoche Crossing. We were following the Carlton Trail, a rutted scar of mud and wagon tracks that pass for a road. When the lead scout reined in sharp and raised a hand, the column halted in a clatter of bits and curses. Ahead, half hidden in a poplar grove, a single man on horseback watched us. He was dressed like a mountain man gone to seed, buckskins greasy with years of dirt, fur cap pulled low, and a Winchester held tight across his saddle. His scarred face was like a badly carved totem pole with one eye white and milky. A whiskey trader, I reckoned, Or worse, a renegade scout who'd sell powder to both sides and laugh while the shooting started. Crozier rode forward, all red tunic and confidence, with 2 troopers flanking him. I edged my mare closer, telling myself I was merely observing. In truth, I wanted a clear line to bolt if things turned ugly. Then Reggie bounced up behind me on his horse, eyes wide.
"I say, what, hare? Dodgy-looking customer, hey? Do you think he's one of Riel's lot?"
"Shut up, Reggie," I muttered, "and keep your head down."
Crozier hailed the stranger.
"You there! State your business!"
The man spat tobacco juice into the snow and answered in a voice like gravel under boots.
"Just passing through, Superintendent. The name's McTavish. I trade a bit, and I hunt a bit too, but I ain't looking for any trouble."
"Trouble's already looking for you," Crozier replied. "Riel's raised the flag, so he has. Any man caught running powder to rebels will be hung. Hand over your rifle and come in peace."
McTavish grinned, showing brown teeth.
"I ain't running powder. I'm just passing through. You've got no call to stop me."
The scouts murmured among themselves. One of them, named Pierre, narrowed his eyes and muttered something about a Métis spy. Crozier hesitated. I could see the calculation in his face, arrest the man and waste potential time, or let him go and keep moving. He chose the latter.
"Raid on then," he said. "But if I see you again with a rifle in rebel country, you will answer for it."
McTavish touched his hat brim with mock courtesy, wheeled his horse, and vanished into the willows. The scouts watched him go, uneasy. Reggie exhaled dramatically.
"Oh, crumbs! Rotten luck he got away. I was all set for a spot of excitement. Do you think he'll tell the rebels we're coming?"
"He probably is a bloody rebel," I said.
"Now shut up and keep your eyes open."
We rode on into the evening. The prairie began to rise, gentle at first, then steeper until the horizon broke into low, snow-dusted hills. The air grew colder, sharper. The wind carried the bite of the snow line ahead. By dusk, we reached a sheltered hollow near a frozen riverbed, and Crozier called a halt. Camp was struck quickly. Fires low, watchers posted, horses picketed in a rope corral. The men ate hard salted meat in silence, the laughter of the morning gone. Reggie, of course, was still full of beans.
"I say, wizard campsite. Do you think we'll see any action tomorrow? Gosh, wouldn't that be ripping? Nanny always said that."
I looked at him over my tin mug. "Reggie, why didn't you go and inspect the chaps on Stag?"
"Oh yes, quite right. Ha! I'm sure they need me. Good night,
Lionheart." We slept, or tried to, under canvas that flapped like laundry. The temperature dropped hard, and frost rimmed the guide ropes by midnight. I lay awake listening to the wind and the occasional snort of a horse, wondering how many of us would still be breathing this time tomorrow. Dawn came grey and bitter. The column formed up again, breath steaming and fingers numb on the reins. The trail climbed steadily now, rolling hills giving way to steeper ridges, patches of pine and aspen thickening into proper forest. Snow lay in drifts across the path, forcing the wagons to double-team the mules whilst the mountains leered overhead. By noon, we crested a low rise and saw it. Duck Lake. A wide, half-frozen sheet of ice and black water with a thick forest and mountain range directly behind it. On the far side, deep within the primeval forest, smoke rose in thick threads from the Métis cabins hidden behind the timberline. Our scouts fanned out, riding low, then returning with grim faces. Pierre reined in beside Crozier.
"They know we're coming, sir. Dug in along the ridge in front of the lake."
Crozier's jaw tightened. He studied the ground ahead, open prairie sloping down towards the Métis ranks. No cover worth a damn.
"We'll advance in line. Carbines ready. We'll break them this side of the lake. They'll shatter when they see the red coats."
I glanced over at Reggie. For once, the puppyish grin was gone. He was pale, clutching his reins too tight, and even he could smell the trap. The scouts murmured again, one of them pointing to fresh tracks in the snow, moccasin prints, pony tracks circling wide. Now was my time to shine. I galloped up to Crozier in an attempt to advise him on a less suicidal plan of action.
Crozier, there's a good chap. Now, I've been studying the land, and I think the best plan of attack is...
Crozier raised his hand.
Mr. Jones, good luck to you. Forward!
The column moved down the slope, slowly, flags snapping, carbines unslung. I felt the familiar cold prickle along my spine and the feeling of my bowels wanting to violently vacate my lower half. Somewhere ahead, on our side of the lake, hidden along the obvious ridge, men were waiting. The silence was the worst part. No war cries, no shots, just the creak of saddles, the crunch of hooves in snow, and the knowledge that we were riding, slowly, straight into it. Crozier rode tall and confident, believing in his own legend. I rode low, heart hammering, knowing better. And somewhere, in the snow ahead of me, I swear I heard the click of a rifle hammer being drawn back.